Hey there guys, so we are ready for the next step in our trees where we are exploring warm and cool colors. So we're going to start by painting the leaves in the trees, and what you're going to need for this, you're going to need your watercolors. You're going to activate the colors that you're using. So if you decided that this is going to be warm colors, you want to activate your warm colors in your paint palette. So that means you're dropping a drop of paint into each of the colors you're using. You're going to need a brush, a cup of clean water, and I want you to have your chart nearby so that you can take a look and think about the colors that you should be using depending on whether this is going to be cool or warm. Now, I did mine, outlined my tree using a warm color, so that means that I'm going to be painting the leaf areas in using warm colors, okay? If you outlined this in blue, then you're going to be using cool colors for your leaves. All right, so let's get started. What I want you to do is explore those warm and cool colors we learned about in these areas. This is called negative space. These big, they almost look like windows in the trees. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore using more than one warm color in an area. So I'm going to start with my red, and I can add in any other warm color I want, and I can even do this while this is wet, because for this specific technique and style that we're doing, it is going to be okay for our colors to mix and run together, okay? So I think I'm going to add in a little bit of, let's do some yellow. I'm going to just add in my yellow. And again, I'm not worried about whether or not my colors are running together. In fact, I just added some water, which is going to make them run together a little bit more. And I'm exploring those different warm values in my painting, okay? So it doesn't matter if the colors run together, as long as you're using colors that are warm, which means they'll blend together pretty nicely because they're in the same family. Okay, so I'm trying to get a variety of colors in one area. I'm not going to go too heavily in with water, but I am adding a little bit of water just to get those colors kind of moving around on my paper and make it feel a little bit more blended. Okay, so I went back in, I washed my brush, and now I'm adding some yellow in there. And if I want an area to be a little bit more solidly colored, I'm going to use less water, because if we use less water on our brush, then our colors are more vibrant. The more water we use on our brush, the more translucent or transparent the colors become. Okay? So next I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paint the next spot. And my goal for you is to use all of your warm colors. So be thoughtful about that. So I'm going to mix up some red violet. I'm going to start with my red. And I'm going to start with my red violet being in the top. So I can even just mix this on my paper right now. So I'm going to put the red in here. And I'm going to mix this right in this section. So I'm going to go right in with my violet. I'm going to use just a tiny amount because I don't want this to turn purple. I still want this to be a warm color, and we know purple is not a warm color. So be careful with how much violet you add in. Okay, you still want it to be in the warm family. And if you go too far in with the violet, you'll lose that, okay? So I'm just adding a tiny amount. I'm rinsing my brush out. To get some of the water out, what I do is I just press my bristles gently along the side to get some of that extra water out. And then I'm just gonna mix those right on the paper. I'm being very gentle because this is not watercolor paper. It's a little bit thinner. It's totally fine to paint on, but it means it's more likely to tear. Okay, so then I'm gonna come back in with my red. I'm gonna add that in there. Let those colors kind of mix together and bring this down. And I'll add some orange in at the bottom, just for fun. So you notice though that I'm leaving space between the orange and the red violet. They're not gonna play as nicely together because it's getting to the cooler end of the warm tones. So I'm just gonna add in my orange. I'm gonna mix that a little bit right into the paper. Spread that out. And I'm just gonna continue painting. You're welcome to stay and watch and see what the final product looks like. I'm not gonna do a lot more talking. I'm just gonna finish painting this in so you see what it should look like, okay? So here we go. I am going to show you one trick right here. So I have a dry brush in my hand. If I find that I have a puddle of color in somewhere and I tap my dry brush in there, I can actually lift up some of that water so that I'm not getting giant puddles on my paper. I just wanted to take a second to show you that. And of course your brush does have to be dry, and if you want to wash it out and then dry it on a paper towel, really get all that water out of there, okay? That's how artists who are more advanced at watercolors use their brushes to help pick up extra water that's on their page. That's one of the ways. Okay. I'm just going to keep painting, but I did want to show you that little trick really fast. always a good idea to walk on top of a scrap piece of paper or a placemat so that it's easily wiped off and cleaned up when you're done painting. All right, so here is the finished area in my tree. As this dries, I may decide if an area looks too purple or too dark to me. I may go back in and add a little bit more red to it. But right now, for my warm colors, we're seeing use of orange and red and yellow orange and red violet, all working in my tree. And I really do want you to try and let the colors kind of blend together, but being thoughtful about which colors are going to work best together. So as you're looking at this, any color that is side by side on here are going to work nicely together. These are called analogous colors. So I can't wait to see what you do. We're going to let this dry, and then we'll come back in the next video and we'll work on the bottom half of our painting. Okay, and you know, these aren't going to be perfect, and if you have some little spots on your paper where you went out of the lines, don't worry about it. Be as neat as you can, but mistakes happen, even in my paintings, and sometimes the mistakes are what make our paintings the most interesting, or sometimes there's an easy way to fix our mistake. So don't worry about perfection, but focus on doing your best and getting the assignment completed following the instructions. Okay guys,